It was a cold, foggy evening in the small town of Blackwood. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the distant ticking of the old clock tower. Detective Arthur Grayson, known for his sharp mind and unshakable calm, sat in his dimly lit office, sipping on a cup of black coffee. His peace was interrupted by a frantic knock on the door. "Come in," Grayson called, setting his cup down. The door creaked open, and a young woman, her face pale and eyes wide with fear, stepped inside. "Detective Grayson, you have to help me. My uncle, he's dead. But it's not what it seems. I think he was murdered." Grayson gestured for her to sit. "Start from the beginning, miss." Clara Whitmore," she said, clutching her hands together. "My uncle, Professor Henry Whitmore, was a brilliant scientist. He was working on a groundbreaking hypothesis about energy conservation. Last night, he was found dead in his study. The police say it was a heart attack, but I know it wasn't. He was healthy, and he'd been acting strange lately, like he was afraid of something." Grayson leaned forward, his interest piqued. "What makes you think it was murder?" Clara hesitated. "Before he died, he sent me a letter. It said, 'If anything happens to me, don't trust anyone. The hypothesis is dangerous.' And then this morning, I found this in his study." She handed Grayson a small, crumpled piece of paper. On it was a single word, Eureka. Grayson studied the note. Eureka as in, he discovered something. Clara nodded. "But I don't know what. His notes are gone, and his lab is a mess. Someone ransacked it after he died." Grayson stood, grabbing his coat. "Let's take a look." The Whitmore estate was an old, imposing mansion on the edge of town. Grayson and Clara arrived to find the study sealed off by the police. Grayson flashed his badge and stepped inside. The room was in disarray, papers scattered, books knocked off shelves, and a broken beaker on the floor. Grayson examined the professor's desk. Among the chaos, he noticed a small locked drawer. Using a paperclip, he picked the lock and found a journal inside. The pages were filled with complex equations and notes, but one entry stood out. "If my calculations are correct, this hypothesis could change the world. But it's too dangerous. If it falls into the wrong hands." The rest of the page was torn out. Clara gasped. "That's his handwriting. But what was he working on?" Before Grayson could answer, a noise came from the hallway. He turned just in time to see a shadow dart past the door. Grayson chased after it, but the figure was gone, leaving only a faint smell of smoke. Returning to the study, Grayson noticed something he'd missed earlier, a small charred piece of paper in the fireplace. He carefully retrieved it and held it up to the light. The words were barely legible. "The formula is complete. But at what cost?" Grayson's mind raced. Someone had tried to destroy evidence, but why? And who? The next morning, Grayson visited the local university, where Professor Whitmore had taught. He spoke to the dean, who revealed that Whitmore had been collaborating with a colleague, Dr. Samuel Reed, on his research. "Dr. Reed?" Grayson muttered. "Where can I find him?" The dean hesitated. "He hasn't been seen since the professor's death. But if you're looking for him, try his lab." Grayson found the lab locked, but a quick search revealed a hidden key. Inside, he discovered a workspace filled with strange devices and more notes on the hypothesis. Among them was a letter addressed to Reed. "Samuel, we must stop this. The formula is too dangerous. If it's used improperly, it could destroy everything." Grayson's suspicions grew. He returned to Clara with the new information. "Dr. Reed," Clara said, her voice trembling. "He was always jealous of my uncle's work. Do you think he—" Before she could finish, the sound of breaking glass came from the study. Grayson rushed in to find Dr. Reed, frantically searching through the professor's notes. "Looking for something?" Grayson asked, his hand on his revolver. Reed froze, then turned with a wild look in his eyes. "You don't understand. The formula, it's mine now. I'll finish what he started. Grayson stepped closer. And what did you do to Professor Whitmore to get it? Reed's face twisted with anger. He wouldn't share it. He said it was too dangerous. But I knew better. I just needed his notes. Grayson's voice was calm but firm. So you killed him. Reed lunged, but Grayson was quicker. He disarmed the man and pinned him to the ground. Later, as Reed was taken into custody, Clara approached Grayson. Thank you, Detective. But what was the formula? What was so dangerous? Grayson sighed. From what I've pieced together, it was a theory about harnessing unlimited energy. But in the wrong hands, it could have been used as a weapon. Your uncle knew that, and it cost him his life. Clara nodded, tears in her eyes. He was a good man. Grayson placed a hand on her shoulder. He was. And thanks to you, his work won't be used for harm. As the fog lifted over Blackwood, Grayson walked away, knowing that some mysteries were better left unsolved. Dr. Reed, Grayson muttered. Where can I find him?